there, I'm Tony Bloom and welcome to the PGG Wrightson Stud Tour. So this week we're off to Blenheim to catch up with the Taylor family. They've been breeding Corriedales, top class Corriedales for over 50 years. It's not a bad place to be because they're also introduced a little bit of the old diversification. So yeah. Farming here at Dog Hill Corriedale Stud. Where have you been, Lockie?
Left school, went up north, 6 or 7 years up there, worked on a few of the larger stations I suppose, and then after I sort of got that out of my system, I returned back to Ward and did a bit of sharing, enjoyed the challenge. The opportunity arose to go home to the farm and have a crack at that.
Ellie, you've tripped around a wee bit?
I spent a few years after I left college, went to university, and spent a few years travelling overseas, and came back to my parents who actually farm next door here. Met this guy, and yeah, ended up down here again.
So what are you farming now?
Well, we're farming now. We've obviously got the stud, the Corriedale stud, but we also farm the Corriedales in the commercial flock as well. So it's 100% pure Corriedales in there. Beef as well, we still do a bit of fattening, fatten a few steers, which works well. We need to have cattle on our hill country. Yeah, Corriedales, and that's where we're at the moment. That's where we see the future.
Now, Lockie, the stud ewes are run right out on that tough country out the back there. You're a Corriedale man. You wouldn't have anything else on the place?
Yeah, I think you're correct there. We wouldn't have anything other than Corriedales running out there. It's steep. It runs up to about 2,300 feet. It's very dry. We get about 500 mils of rain a year. We get about 1.5 meters of evaporation. Corriedales are ideally suited to that sort of environment. So we've been farming them there since we arrived back in 1919.
Now, Ellie, your father, Doug Avery, been farming here a long time, and your family been here for a long time too.
So the family's been here since 1919 as well. And they were some of the first in New Zealand to plant lucerne, and are still very proudly growing lucerne today.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the hill country around us now is starting to be converted to lucerne as well.
So, Lockie, your father is still working. He's pretty much still runs all the stud side of it, doesn't he?
Yeah. So what we did was, I suppose we're no different to a lot of father-son operations, and there's always, well, not conflict, but there's some healthy competition. So we decided that we would kind of split the place into two. So he's got a wee block that he runs his studs on, and that's his department, and then the rest of the property is under my management.
Yep.
And so that's how we work it. But he's nearly 83 now, and he doesn't look like he's going to give up any day shortly.
So how long have the Taylor family been here in Ward, Jack?
My family came here in 1919.
Yeah. Was that your father?
Yeah, it was my father, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we've been here quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lachlan's third generation, his children will be fourth generation. We started the stud in 1950, and this sort of country suits mid-micron wool. So, you know, the half-bred Corriedale is the type of sheep that does best here, and the mid-micron wool is what we like, and that's why we've stuck with Corriedales.
Yeah. Where did you originally source your Corriedales?
From Alec Kennington, who was here. And then we've had a few outside ewes. We've got some ewes from Australia, and we use local rams like the Sidey rams and the Bill Baines rams, and they're all good rams. Wilson rams, all good rams. And
you've got some nice young rams here. Now, where are they heading away to? They've been sold, but they're not sent away yet?
No, some go to the North Island, and the rest around locally.
Yeah.
Mostly locally in Marlborough.
Phil Pratt, you're a sheep farmer up here in Marlborough. Whereabouts exactly are we, Phil?
We're Seddon, Blind River Seddon.
Yeah.
We're about 25 k's out of Blenheim, south of Blenheim, and Blind River's 4.5 k's out of Seddon towards the coast. So we're about 1.5 miles off the east coast here.
Yeah. Fairly dry.
Dry area. We've got the salt works almost as a neighbour.
Yeah.
And they only produce salt in very arid, dry conditions. So
yeah,
that's where we are.
Now, you've got a fair bit of Corriedale blood in your veins. Where did that all start, Phil?
Well, born and bred, probably. My father farmed Corriedales. He farmed from 1951. Ex-serviceman went farming.
Yeah.
in the Taylor Pass, which is between Blenheim and Seddon, dry hill country. So he was a Corriedale breeder and merino, but he mainly Corriedales. So nothing's really changed.
Yeah.
We've tried other things.
Yep.
But now that I'm sort of hit over 60,
Yep.
picking up big, heavy, what they call composite ewes is too tough for me. So back to a much more placid sheep.
So how long have you been buying the rams from the Taylor family, Phil?
I think the first year was 2006, 2 years after we came here, and that's when I decided to go back towards the Corriedales. And a colleague put me onto Jack, and then of course I remember the Taylor family as Corriedale breeders. So
Yep.
and Jack's always been pretty good. He's given me a good pick, and he's got that nice wool type sheep that I like, nice open faced Corriedale. And they seem to suit here. They free and move easily. Like to buy locally. I mean, if you can get good sheep locally, why go elsewhere? And Jack's had a few prizes over the years, so he must be doing something right. He's not a young man, so he's been breeding for a long time, so he must have some knowledge there. So I trust him, really.
Coming up this year, 150 years of the Christchurch show. You'll be down there, Jack.
Oh yes, it'll be great. Yeah, I hope to take one or two of these rams here. We're just standing in front of us now. I look forward to Christchurch show.
Yeah. You enjoyed
Yeah.
the showing?
Oh yeah, showing's most important. If you go to the Christchurch show for a week, you learn more in that week than you do the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So to me, going to the shows is most important.
And you've had quite a bit of success there over the years,
Oh,
Jack?
you have a little bit to keep you going.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. Now, Lockie, I worked with you for a year, 20 years ago on O2 Station. I never thought that you'd swap that big brown bottle for these nice bottles of wine, come home and plant the farm out in grapes.
Yeah, that's true, Tony, and I'll have to admit that 20 years ago I wouldn't have thought I'd be sitting here today getting interviewed by you, but it is great to catch up with old mates that we used to shepherd with. We had some great times.
Yeah.
But no, we now the palate is slightly more sophisticated,
Yeah.
we like to say, and it's definitely enjoying the Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, and I see a bit of lucerne out there, Lockie.
Yeah, there's a bit of lucerne. It's an integral part of the farming system. It's a fantastic plant, lucerne, and it's one of the plants in the world per cubic metre of water that's used. It actually produces about another 30% more in energy than what your standard ryegrass might produce.
Yeah.
There's probably only one other plant that can do better than lucerne, and that's grapes. And we also have a few of those. In fact, we've got about 70 acres of grapes and a couple of thousand plants per hectare.
Yeah.
All adds up, quite a lot of work, but it's been very rewarding.
So the diversification into the growing grapes, what do you reckon, Ali? You're quite keen on it?
Yeah, initially we're quite keen on it. It's been a good diversification for us, spreading our risk and trying something new. I mean, obviously not today, but it's generally quite dry here. And utilising the small amount of water that we've got to growing a crop which produces better income.
Yeah. A bigger job than you thought, putting them in, Lockie?
It has been. It has been a real challenge, and every step of the way it's been a real learning curve. And I think I can remember when we first put the very first post in, and we had half rounds, of course flat on one side, round on the other side, and the contractors turned up to bang the posts in, and they said, now which way round do you want the posts? And I thought, I don't know. So I quickly had to drive down the road and had a look at a mate's vineyard to see which way round he had his post. So we didn't know nothing. We knew nothing about vineyards, but we know a bit more now.
A big job too, just to get the brand out there and distribute the wine, get it sold.
Yeah, it's probably been the biggest learning curve of all. Grapes effectively are just another crop. Marketing wine was something that I think neither of us really ever had much to do with before.
Now, last night we visited your cellar tastings shop in Kaikoura. How does that work, Ali?
So cellar tastings is basically our cellar door for Boundary Rider wines. We also utilise enomatic machines there, which are tasting machines, Italian designed, beautiful system, and we choose wines from around the country. Which represent good value for money for the customer, but are generally the high-end wines that you won't find in your supermarket shelves. And the machines give the customers the opportunity to taste the wines. And for Boundary Rider, that's definitely been a huge growth for us having a cellar door
Yeah.
in town. I mean, out here we looked at building something out here, but we're in the middle of nowhere, so we had to go to the nearest city, and that was Kaikoura.
Yes, I try to get down there 2 or 3 times a week. It's a great opportunity to interact with the public and those people that are enjoying the boundary rider. I was surprised. I actually really enjoy it. I actually really enjoy getting out there and interacting with the public, and you meet some fantastic people, really interesting people from all over the world. Kaikoura is a great melting pot of locals and tourists. There's people from all over the world there. In fact, I think there's 1.6 million people on average visit Kaikoura. So we figure that if we can get a small percentage of those, even say 5%, we're doing pretty well.
I noticed a big vineyard in the middle of the farm. What do you think of that, Jack? You like a drop?
I don't enjoy the work in the vineyard because I don't do anything there, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's extremely interesting what they do and how they do it, and there's a lot of people working them, and Lachlan enjoys it.
And you graze a few sheep in there?
Well, Lachlan does. Yeah. Yep. No, it's not my cup of tea, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's and Lachlan and Ellie have got a good system where they sell their wine on. It's quite good. It's very interesting.
Jack, the birds, have they been a lifelong passion of yours?
When we have a long weekend and a good weekend, we'll band up to 1,000 birds. That's happened a couple of times. This weekend, it's not quite so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a hobby.
Yeah,
It's a good hobby, and it's sort of develops develops by the people you meet.
Yeah.
You know, if you meet the right sort of people, it just just builds on.
Yeah.
But Paul and his family, they're experts. They really are.
Yeah. Yeah, been a bit of a family passion.
Oh, it has. Like, I mean, you know, my dad's probably one of the top ornithologists in New Zealand, and we grew up all around it, and that's how we got introduced to Jack, being a keen birder with my father and stuff, and so we've been lucky enough to be coming here since we were wee little tackers, eh?
To help to know what sort of birds we've got here mostly. Like, so sometimes we have the wax eyes, and sometimes we've got a lot of them. Sometimes not very many.
Yeah.
They're probably the worst in the vineyard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's just a hobby.
Yeah.
You know, you like doing.
Oh yeah, we all enjoy it, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
you
good
know,
fun.
and it's good to get the kids involved. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that's how we got into it, and you know, we like to bring our kids down here, and we're lucky enough to be allowed to bring all the kids, and you know, now Jack's grandkids are all down here getting into it, and they're getting their hands-on experience as well, because that's what it's all about. If you got one in your hand, you can learn a lot more from it than seeing it flitting around or sitting on a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good.
Jack, obviously a very passionate man about animals, Lockie.
Oh, he is, and it's a great environment, I think, probably for people to grow up in, and probably a typical country environment. And I can remember, once again, as a child, Dad bringing home all sorts of pets for us kids, from goats to you name it. Every now and again he'd arrive home, and often we'd go racing out when we heard the motorbike coming up the road, because we knew the old man might have something on his shirt there that wriggled and had a heartbeat, and we'd rear that up and take it to the school pets days, and so he's always been very fond of bird life in particular.
Pete Barnes, you're here with PGG Wrightson's based out of Blenheim. You've been in the game for a while, Pete.
Yeah, I've been involved in the industry for 20 years at least now, so it's it's been very good.
And you've seen a fair bit of the South Island. You've worked in a few areas.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to see most of the South Island as an agent, and particularly before family and whatnot. We lived in good rural areas north of Otago, Corriedale, through Amarama, and sort of ran around those areas along with central Otago, Cromwell, Wakatip, and then moved into North Canterbury before sort of shifting to the greater Marlborough region. Yeah.
Yeah. A fairly close relationship with the Taylor family and worked in closely there with the Corriedales.
We have. We're very, very fortunate to have the Taylors involved with the company, Lockie and Jack and the families. We certainly handle a lot of their work for them. Lockie is running cattle, of course. He's running his Corriedale flock and with Jack, and We draft their lambs, and source store lambs if they need them, and of course the rams, the stud rams, we're involved with them and enjoy seeing how they progress and come on every year.
Pete, they're not just going to the Marlborough region. They're going all over the place. The Corriedale rams from Dog Hill.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, Jack's rams are being sourced and sought after from as far as the North Island, certainly into Canterbury and around. Yeah, no, they definitely move out of the district. Recently had a ewe fair here in Marlborough, our annual ewe fair. The Corriedale breed sold particularly strongly. They were well sought after because there's just not enough of them coming forward as straight breed Corriedales to satisfy the demand.
About the Dog Hill Corriedales.
The Corriedales that Jack's been breeding for 52 years, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but are robust. They're growing out in natural conditions here for Marlborough, for the Marlborough region, for the Marlborough conditions. They've kept a very close eye on their wool quality, which I can vouch. We see Jack's wool every year come into the Marlborough AMP show, and it traditionally cleans up in the Corriedale wool sections.
Now, you would have, in all the years you've been breeding the Corriedale rams, you would have noticed a lot of changes in the breed.
Yeah, slight changes.
All for the better.
Oh yes, slight changes. Woolly-headed sheep were quite acceptable sort of 40 years ago, but they're not now. You've got to have open face sheep, and you've got to keep your eye on fertility. They've got to have good fertility. That's things that have changed really.
Yeah.
Corriedale wool's always been quite good, but we like to keep it good.
You would have seen a lot of fluctuation in the wool prices up and down over the years.
Oh yes, yes. Back when flaxbin was flaxborn,
yeah,
and this was all farmed in one.
Yeah.
In 1895, they cut 800 bales of wool here, each 280 pounds.
When she was the big station.
Yep.
Yep.
And that was the height of the rabbit plague in 1895. About 1947, the wool price was about 18 pence a pound. 18 pence, which was only not 2 shillings. And it's slowly gone up, and it's had the wool boom in the 1950s. In about 1951, I think merino wool was getting £1 a pound, the very good stuff. And we've had it fluctuated up quite a bit, but just at the moment, it's risen a little bit, but it still needs to go a lot more than it is.
Yeah.
Really. But wool's the best product, but whether it's been marketing properly, I don't know. But when we can get the microns, there is a system now where they can reduce mid-micron wool by 5 microns by treating it in some way. If we can get that established and up and running, it'll be a big help to us.
Yeah. And the wool, you've done well there with the wool too at the shows, and you like the Corriedale wool.
It has been. Wool has remained quite a focus, and I think we're gonna see some dividends for that in years to come. It's we've never neglected the wool, even though over the last few years there has been times when you think, oh my God, what are we doing with a wool sheep or a dual purpose sheep as it is, but we're quite proud of the wool as well. It's very, very clean mid-micron wool that seems to come off the back in pretty good shape, whatever the weather conditions.
Yeah. So commonly known as a dual purpose breed, the Corriedales. Beautiful meat.
It is beautiful meat. It's initially the Corriedale was actually a Merino Lincoln cross, and I think a lot of people know and understand that a Merino chop, although it being a wool sheep, is actually fantastic meat, and the Corriedales kind of inherited that. But it's also, I think that the conditions that Corriedales are normally running are reasonably extensive, not intensive.
Yeah.
And I think that plays a big part as well in the quality of the meat that's produced.
Yeah. Now, fairly good in the feet.
But the Corriedales, there has been a lot of work done with them to improve their feet over the years, and they've got them really good now, especially with the foot scoring.
Yeah, your father's quite keen on that, isn't he?
He is. He really takes that into consideration when selecting stud rams. I'm not too sure how familiar you are with the foot scoring, but there's effectively both sides of the family, the ewe and the ram, are scored 1 to 5. And so when we buy a stud ram, we're looking for a 1-1, which means 1 is the highest it can be ranked, 5 is the worst it can be ranked.
And this is done on a blood test.
So this is done on a blood test. And so if we see a ram with a 1-1, which means its mother was very good, very resistant, its father was also very resistant, well then that's a ram we're going to look at closely.
Now, Ellie, you were 7 days a week down there at Cellar Tastings in Kaikoura, but now you've got the little tacker coming on, so you're just a little bit too busy for that?
Yeah, I was. I was down there 7 days and trying to market Boundary Rider wines either from there or when we got home. But obviously when Georgia arrived, things had to change quite rapidly. It's been quite a change, an adjustment for us, getting used to having little fingers helping in the business as well.
Yeah. And then getting it out to restaurants and that, you're both involved there, you take it out and get it around the Marlborough restaurants, you do a bit there, Lockie?
Yeah, try to. It is another job, and we do our best. And one of the restaurants we do supply is obviously the local East Coast Inn, which is a great supporter of ours.
In Ward here?
That's in Ward, yes. Not too sure if they've got Corriedale on the menu, but
you better get onto that.
They've definitely got some Boundary Rider there. So
yeah. So where to from here? You've diversified into the wine. Also, you've gone in into a place, a dairy farm in Australia.
That's correct.
Yep. And where to from here?
Where to from here? We're going to grow our exports. Boundary Rider Wines at the moment is only exporting to Ireland and South Korea.
Yeah.
Slowly over the next few years, it would be great to grow the brand internationally.
Yeah. And with the Corriedales, with the stud, you'll carry on that legacy, Lockie?
I intend to. I definitely intend to. It's in my veins.
Yeah.
Born and bred with it, and brought up with it, and hopefully one day I'll be a rising 83-year-old and breeding Corriedale rams. Of course, Georgia on board and Tamati, my son, he's 14, attending Otago Boys High School. Georgia, she's 4 months old. Never know, there might be more.
Another generation there,
and a few more little feet trotting around the place in the years to come, and so we're really making time for that as well now.
Yeah.
It's important. I think, to have a balance in life.
Yeah.
And so also on top of all that, of course, I wouldn't be here without my mother and father, and they're still a very important part of the team, as we've seen today, and always got to make time for them as well.
Throughout this time, you've had a good lady with you there.
Oh yeah,
Bit of keen on the sheep too.
Oh yeah, most important, like, content and a good wife.